And action.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hotline Miami 2 Level Editor Tutorials. I'm your host, Rob Salmon.
And this is Matt. So, Rob, I got a question for you.
Oh, what question would that be, Matt?
So, I got this dope ass combat level. It's really great, but I'm wanting to add an intro cutscene for it. How do I go about doing that?
Oh, Matt, well, let me show you. Now, cutscenes is a different beast. For starters, there's a whole different menu for it. So, let's open up this little test level. So, we've shown you how to make beautiful levels, beautiful combat levels with perfect enemy placement, and we're sure you've already mastered that. So now you want to make yourself a campaign because, you know, the single levels, aren't really doing it for you. Well then, we open up the cutscene creator. To open that, you either open it in the tabs under level, create cutscene, or the hotkey, which is what I recommend, Control-Alt-C, and boom. Now we have two additional tabs right here. Frames and NPCs. Now, the whole meat of the cutscenes, it's frames, triggers, actions, and then you'll mostly use dialogue. Pretty much everything else is to make the level look, or the cutscene look fancy and have a bit more character, but dialogue is most important. So, you need to understand the mechanics of the frames and actions. Now, the frames all happen in order from 0 to whichever. And within each frame, you're going to have your actions, which is going to tell you what to do. So, the first thing you want to do is your triggers. Nothing gets done until your character activates a trigger. So to add a trigger, you click the Add Trigger button, and click and drag your rectangle. If you don't like where you've put it, you can click it again. Oops. So if
You just redo it?
Yeah, and re-click it. Like that. And boom. So now that you have a trigger, until you tell it to end this cutscene, that trigger will be there. And you won't see this when you're actually playing, so make sure that your player character will be able to go to it without having prior knowledge of the location of the trigger. So like right behind a door like this, it works perfectly. So now that you have frame 1, or frame 0 is set for you already. So you're going to choose what kind of action you want. So the actions is add dialogue, wait, play sound, music, stop music, and then these two here in the level, or you can activate items, which I think we'll do that last, is activate. So
Yeah, I don't know if you said what frame 0 is considered your frame 1.
Yeah, everything starts from 0. It's more of like a computer nerd kind of thing. You always start with 0 instead of 1. So the most important one is dialogue. But before you add dialogue, you want to make sure your NPCs are placed. These are all the non-player characters that interact with the character in the cutscene. And to place one down, first you'll want to give him a name. So we're going to call this guy Steve. Hello, Steve. And you click this bar here to choose. And you have pretty much access to most of the sprites in the game in alphabetical order. And you can click it, and this window will preview it. So let's find a lot of them. It's kind of hard to justify using them as NPCs, but eventually you find it, and you can scroll through with the mouse wheel to go a lot faster. So let's do the writer sitting down, and shift right mouse button gets them to rotate at 90 degrees. You can't place them at angles for whatever reason. So these are
Yeah, they are just like straight shot, like yeah, just based on 90 degrees, like you'll see.
Yeah, so he's gonna be doing some massive squats behind this desk, and then once you've got him placed, or before you place him, you can choose if you want him to be solid or killable. Solid means you can either walk through him or not. Killable, self-explanatory. But if you did what I just did and forget to choose what you want before you set him down, you can right-click on him and go to Properties, and click them. You can also rename him, change his sprite, and change the player bullets or enemy bullets. I think the only difference is player bullets can kill enemies, but enemy bullets can only kill the player, whereas player bullets can kill both. It doesn't really matter unless your character is attacking. Also, most NPCs, I'm not sure if I want to say most, but there's a lot of NPCs that don't have a death sprite. So like, if the writer has a death sprite, but say I was to choose for character 2, the court reporter, whoops, or the copy flash clerk. Copy flash clerk doesn't die in the game. Thank you, truck. And so if I choose for him to die, nothing will happen. So just keep that in mind when you're choosing which character you want to die.
Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, so Rob just said, basically, any playable character, can, Pardo, writer, etc., is going to have a death sprite, but something like, you choose Andy, the NPC, he's not going to have a death sprite, so yeah.
Also, if you forget to name your character, it'll just be like character 1, 2, 3, and it'll name them for you. It's probably best if you name them so you don't lose track of who's who. So now that you've placed them, you can choose your actions. So
actually, I want to branch off on something. So basically, you say you have a cutscene with a large crowd of people. Instead of having to go to the NPC tabs in the cutscene editor, consider, maybe we covered this in the previous video, but in the main editing screen, the tab with the items where you can just place the people, and with that is that any NPC that's not going to be in your cutscene or interacting, you simply have them as like a background, like person, yeah, basically like that. And obviously we talked about like the animation speed, but if you just leave it to 0 and just have like an idle gang member on the side, or maybe he's smoking, of course this is something that you don't have to worry about, because when we get into dialogue, you're going to have a list of all the NPCs that you place down, and if you have like 14 people in all, that's just a lot to use. So again, consider using the people side tab just to use.
Yeah, and that can be confusing because I can have the writer sitting. This is the exact sprite. Like, it's the same exact sprite, but it's not, because this one, it's treated as an object, like a couch would be, instead of an NPC. So I can rotate him all the way, but like I won't be able to right click on him, and he won't be able to talk to the character or move the camera to him.
Yeah.
So you also
like I said, the only time I use the people is just for like bystanders, like again, like just a person smoking outside. But yeah.
So before we go into dialogue, I want to show you how the frames work. So when you hit add action from this location, you're going to get actions that are like general to the level, like everything pauses, which is the wait, like nothing goes on during that time. Powerful. Or it can if you have other actions within the frame as the wait. But the wait just kind of like, so if I click it and I choose 7 frames, no matter what happens as well in the frame, at least 7 seconds will go past. And then play sound. You have access to pretty much every sound in the game, so you can line this up at the same time with something, and you can preview it. I'm sorry, I chose such a bad one for an example there. And then play music. It's the same exact concept. So if you don't remember what the sound in the Face of Evil was, you click play. I am the beast of worship! And you can choose it or change it. And it'll, so like, if you do that, like the song that's currently playing will instantly start or stop, and this one will start. Stop music, pretty obvious. You can have it instant or have it fade all the way to 10 seconds. And then it'll just be silent until you tell it to add another music. And then stop sequence and next level, we'll get to those in just a sec, because that's how you, once you're done with everything, you move on. So let's have the character walk in, and they'll hear a sound. They'll hear a shotgun sound for no apparent reason. And then if you have that sound will play, and it'll go straight to the next frame, unless you have a wait. So that's shotgun. It's probably like a second long. So you click wait, you go to about a second, and you won't be able to move for that second as you listen to the shotgun burst before the next action, which we can have like a song play. But I've got my songs turned off right now, so that's not really a good example. So that's a good transition to the other kind of actions, which is the NPC actions. So either on the player character or NPCs, you can click, and you'll have a whole host of new options, which is walk to, change sprite, animate sprite, attack, die, so on and so on. So the walk to one, if you want to take a hold of the player character or any NPC and have them, so you'll get this flashing little bar with a waypoint, and this circle is like the waypoint. So you click it and they'll walk in a straight line to this point, and you have like a limit. I'm not sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, you can set 5 at a time.
Yeah, sorry, to bring up the menu for the NPCs and the player character, is it you right click?
No, you you right click when you're finished. So if I want him to, once he walks through this door, he will stop here and then turn and then look at the camera, and then right click when you're done, and that's how you choose the speeds. Fast is like blindingly fast, almost humorous. Normal is like the normal during a combat, and then slow is like if you want the character to look like, yeah, if you want the character to look normal, you're gonna choose slow, and then hit OK. If you don't like how you set it up, you can hit redo, and then we'll add another frame because nothing else happened. We'll have nothing else happen at that exact time. So. Okay, hey guys, we had an error in recording, and so I'm just redoing this part real quick because the dialogue is important to teach you guys. So we have Hammer walk up to Evan, and so we have the next frame. So as soon as he's done walking, the next action will occur, which will have dialogue. And so we're gonna have Hammer ask, "Hey Evan, how's the wife?" It would help if I actually knew how to type. And you see these two lines here are the two lines in the dialogue on each page of dialogue that you'll see. If you should have, you know what the cutscenes look like in Hotline Miami, when there's two lines, and then you click to get to the next two lines, and while there's a head right here opening and closing its mouth and blinking at you. And so each time that you want to advance to the next page, you click plus, and then you can type in the next line. Don't worry about the click to edits. You don't have to do anything to get rid of these. If you don't touch those boxes, nothing will appear. So then to get the hammer face, you click and hold on this square and just kind of like push down until you find the face you want, and the order it goes into, it starts with almost, I want to say, like order of appearance in the campaign of like the main characters, and ends with Hammer. And then we get to all of Jacket's masks, and well, that's not one of them, but, like this, and then we get in alphabetical order all the like the ancillary characters that only appear a couple times in the game, and at the very bottom you get items like papers and TVs and whatnot. So let's go back to Hammer. And there we go, right there. Okay, so then we want Evan to respond right here, and you can jump back through them, through the arrows and the plus and minus to get rid of the different pages. So Evan will be like, and you will find Evan's face, which is a bit higher than Hammer's, and it'll be under writer instead of Evan. They, some have names, some have like their titles, and he's writer. And two, the camera will by default be over the player the whole time. But if you want it when the other characters are talking, you want to select them, so you click this box and choose Evan, and it's the name that you gave that NPC. I think I named him Steve in the rest of the video, but I went back and named him Evan. And if you're not sure who you named, they will be highlighted. Don't ignore the player character, he's always highlighted for some reason, but so I'm highlighting Evan. You can't see him because the stupid box is that way, but like let's say I highlight Richter and see he's in full color, but everything else unhighlighted, he's like dim. So that's the best way if you forget like who's supposed to be who. And then the other thing is if you put in 2 dots, or 3 dots, my bad, the character's face won't open its mouth. It'll just like sit there, pause, and it's like to add like, I guess, a verbal pause or just a waiting period to like buffer the dialogue a bit longer. And if you put anything else besides this, he'll open his mouth and whatnot, but this is how you get just the single frame. And then let's say then Steve here, which is what I name this character, needs to copy flash mechanic. So we go all the way down here, find the C's, copy clerk, and he's like, oof. Add 3 dots plus words. Mouth will move. The only thing is just 3 dots, and then you hit OK. If you're sure, warning: you can't change this once you hit OK. You'd have to go back and retype it. There is a way to change it with Notepad, but that's a backdoor way. There's no official way to change the dialogue once you have it. I don't even remember if we already talked about this yet, but you have to go in order when you're deleting frames. So if, like, say you mess up this walk cycle after we already have the dialogue, you have to get rid of the dialogue and the walk cycle to fix the walk cycle. So be extra careful before you advance to the next thing that you're happy with it. So I would suggest, like, every frame you test the cutscene with a Control P to make sure that you're not 7 frames in and realize you screwed up the walking animation and each character's facing the wrong direction and you have to do the whole thing over again. And so we preview this, look for spelling mistakes and whatnot. My grammar is perfect, so we hit OK, and then we'll add the next frame. So let's add, I think what I added was the applause sound for some dumb bullshit reason, and we if you're not sure if it sounds like the way you want it, perfect, and then add frame. Alright, so the walk command works. Hey Evan, how's the wife? She left me for Pardo. And then he just kind of stares into you with cold dead eyes. This guy adds his 2 cents. We get our sitcom applause. Let's see here. Let's add an NPC. That's it. Let's have him be. Just call him Walk, and we'll have the rat over here. You want him like here. So I want him to walk up to me this way, but you won't. The camera won't pan on him unless you choose character 5 down here. And now during that duration, he will walk to Hammer. So let's show you. I forgot about that shotgun. So you
oh, this bad boy up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to leave the trigger. See? Problems abound. That's actually a good window into the next thing. Is if you make a mistake, you have to like delete everything up to that mistake to get to it. So luckily, the most recent thing I did was a mistake. So delete.
Yeah, basically with the bottom right with the delete frame, delete actions, just like he said, you can't select or highlight something that happened the very first frame. It's almost like you have to go in order of deleting, so it's kind of a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah, it's pretty awful. Like, say I did all this and I was like, yeah, I don't like how long you wait. I want to change that 60 frames to 200 frames. you're gonna have to get rid of all this and change it. So make sure you're getting it right on the first. Same with dialogue. There's no spell check or like go back and edit the dialogue ability in the vanilla editor. So make sure that like you proofread everything that you're typing beforehand. There is, and we'll cover in a later way, like a backdoor way to fix it. But I still would say, proofread it before you click OK, because otherwise you're gonna have to go through this other pain in the ass method.
So, Rob, I kind of had this great idea where, we talked about having like an intro cutscene, and that's cool and all, but what if in my combat level in the very beginning, I have this like monologue with my character about like revenge, and it's like 36 lines of cutscene, and then the level starts. Is that badass?
I think you should take that idea and just shove it way up your butthole, because putting cutscenes before fucking combat levels is cancerous. Let me give you guys an example. So,
and here's why.
Here's why. Now there's a couple reasons why, but the most biggest reason is it's annoying as fuck to have to get paused each time. So look at this. Oh wait, no, I didn't add anything to the trigger. Alright, hold on.
I hate to you can't pause when it's like loading the level.
Yeah, like you just have to sit through it.
Sit through your mistake. Let's say something really cool.
Okay, yeah. So, say you've got yourself a cool little cutscene. Your character's gonna say some badass one-liner before he charges into action. Let's show how that actually pans out. So your level starts, and Hammer's like, "Oh boy, here I go killing again." And he comes in, kicking ass, and then he dies. "Oh boy, here I go killing again." All right. So if you ever think to put a cutscene before a combat level, don't! You don't do it! Just stop! Okay? Thank you.
You're fucking wrong, bro.
No, seriously. I don't care how good your story is. You put a cutscene at the very beginning, like that, you're fired. Just leave. Just don't ever. Never, ever do it. Ever. If you place it at the very end, then there's a way. So, if you make this door a cutscene door, so let's check off the cutscene mark, then no one can enter it until everyone's dead. You can put a cutscene in this room. That's acceptable. But if you're going to say something before you finish fighting everybody, that's not acceptable. Also, if this door, say that door isn't there, or it's just a normal door, and you trigger that cutscene, you can still be killed while in that cutscene, and then you'll have to restart. None of that is good.
Yeah.
So you have to be very mindful of what you do. The other thing is, if there's a cutscene on a person's level, then you're not going to get like a floor cleared thing, which is kind of strange. So let's.
Yeah, and you get in a sense of like, did I kill everyone? And you kind of are going through the whole level again.
Yeah, like on a small level like this, it's not a huge issue, but if you're like on a massive takeover size level and you think you killed everybody but you don't, and you're inching past every corner terrified, that's bad design. So
yeah, it's always a dog too. That's like the last.
Yeah. Is a dog like spinning in a circle someplace, or do I need to like hunt down that fucking phone or whatever I need to trigger it? So add action and then add dialogue, and he's like, Hammer goes like, "Oh, that was easy. Easy peasy." And you also, if you end it like this, like even if you're done with the dialogue, he'll just stand there. You have to add another frame and stop sequence. So otherwise you're just stuck there forever. So now let's try it. see? So just the go arrow just magically pops up, but you don't get a like floor complete. And then he goes like easy peasy, and he walks to the next floor. So basically, I think we just covered what I was going to cover on this floor actually by doing that end cutscene there. So same thing works with this. If you have an enemy here, there'll be a little bit different properties in terms of how things end. So say you kill this kid and then you have a cutscene here, and then you're like level complete, go to car, you'll get the big old level clear. But if there's not an enemy here, when you talk to him and then you finish that cutscene, it'll say floor clear, and then you'll go to car, and it won't trigger the ending music.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to show you that. Just remember, there's some different properties when there's an enemy there, and as I said, experiment, you'll figure it out. What else did we want to talk about? Items?
So, yeah, items. Let's go over items, and then I'll go to what I wanted to.
Yeah. Okay, so items is a weird, strange beast. I actually had keys placed here for some reason. It's the second part of the NPC thing, and I want to say they're super glitchy, or maybe I'm just an idiot who hasn't figured them out. I've seen 1 or 2 levels where like you pick up the keys, you have to take it to a door to unlock the door. Never been able to figure that out myself, and I think there
I rarely use items too.
Yeah, I think there might have been some like notepad code trickery. If you can figure it out, let me know, and I'd appreciate to hear it. I might even bring you on and have you teach me how to do that kind of shit. But as I say,
because we both don't know how to do it.
Yeah, the only thing I've used items for is finish. So you see, active, visible, and active. Visible, like the item won't even show up until you activate it if this isn't checked off. Active. So if you uncheck these, the item won't do anything, and you won't be able to click it until you trigger something else. So I am going to place this wallet, or have a. I used a money pile in Human Being, and let's place a money pile right here, and it'll finish. But it's kind of clear, if you can tell, because it's not visible. So in this, I already have a quick little cutscene, but let's delete the ending bit and add action, activate item. It's the first item. You can also name these. Make sure to check that off. And so now this will be available, and you can click it. Scene complete. Okay, so let's give that a little go. So what else did you want to say, Matt?
Did we talk about 2 things? Did we talk about with having a cutscenes, for example, on this one, like the second floor, how the player has a silhouette where their position is where they're starting out?
Yeah, we can cover that. That'll be good.
And then lastly, we'll close with potential bugs in the cutscene editor.
Actually, I tried to get the walkthrough cutscene to work, or the walk to glitch in the cutscene editor to work, and I couldn't trigger it. Like, it worked perfectly for me. So I don't know.
But sorry, I don't know if it's delayed. So what did you say? We already covered how to make it on like a second floor with the player walking?
No, we haven't done that yet. We're gonna do that after this.
Okay.
So you get, and also if you add an item, you won't get the level complete. You'll get floor cleared. I don't know if it's a glitch or if they put that in intentionally, but if that item wasn't there, you would have gotten the big old level clear, and the music would have played. So now that I click it, I can go to car. Just like that. There's also a couple things different that the cutscenes on the second floor. For instance, you're not going to see your player because his spawns on the first floor. So you can. if I pull up this, you click on the silhouette right here, right? No, this silhouette. This silhouette is the one for level transitions. It's this gray silhouette that you can click, and you can do all the other things. Triggers won't work with the player character. Walk to can be a bit glitchy on second floors. I wasn't actually able to get it to trigger, like the crash to trigger when doing this, but be careful before you ever click walk to on a player character, make sure to save your level because it might crash. I think the best workaround for this is to just actually close the game and open it back up and start walk to. I think what I did is I copied the level in the files, and that worked for me in Human Being 2.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced the walk to crash multiple times, and I completely agree that if I saved and closed the game completely and rebooted it up, most of the time it fixed it.
Yeah, and then once we teach you how to mess with the files, there's another workaround that I think works. Change sprite, animate sprite, which if you change the sprite, okay, well it's not gonna let me do anything, because I've already got everything complete. So let's delete that ending, and the trigger will come back up. And so if I want the player character to change sprite, you have all the options to go back to. It's meant to work with, like, he changes subtly, like if you want to do an animation, so Hammer goes from walking unarmed to like the one where he combs his hair, and then and the same thing, you click animate sprite, and you have the different options, like how the animation works, and he'll flick his hair for X amount of time before. It's pretty glitchy the way that works as well. Same with attack. So if your character has a weapon, or if you change the sprite to be like pistol attack, he will fire, and your player will fire player bullets, I think by default, to kill people. And by clicking attack, you have the option to manually target, or I guess auto-target, the other NPCs, and we already kind of showed you how they die. Or click the manual one, which you see that little crosshair around the player character over here. You can choose exactly where to shoot, like if you want them to miss or something, as well as like choose their fire rate.
Yeah, for like the direction too, even for that office cutscene, he could have the computer monitor on the edge of it, not in front of the character, and you could almost have the player shoot at the monitor and have it explode, and that's almost like this cool warning shot, and add dialogue after that, and the guy's like, whoa, 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 like, hold up. So
yeah, but if I wanted to do that, I'd have to get rid of my dialogue, because that would be beforehand.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
The other thing is rotate, which, it's, you probably figure out which that one is. The snap feature is just there, I guess, to, so you have your easy cardinal directions to just go to, or you can uncheck it to make it specific. And then the animate or instant. Animate means like you'll see the character turn, whereas instant means he just pops in that direction. For some reason, player characters always start facing this direction, the way I've got it pointed, in like level intros. So if you want them to be like facing this way and talking to somebody, you have to like, you're gonna have to like check this instant thing. And I think we'll cover those kind of glitches when we teach you how to make campaigns, because there's also a glitch where the song doesn't work in introductions.
Oh god.
In campaigns, but that is for a different time. And all those things we just showed you work for, not this guy, he's an enemy, not an NPC. Work for these characters, as well as things like trigger. So I think we already showed you that one. And die. Both. I think what happens when you tell your player character to die? Like, I don't think you can do anything, right? Like, pretty much when you do that,
because I've seen.
Yeah, you can't. I don't even think you can press R to restart. It's just like you're stuck there. So the best choice is to choose the like end level fade out or instant.
Yeah, that's what I wouldn't be able to tell because I don't think I've used that. But I've seen campaigns where like a group of NPCs come up and they like shoot you. But yeah, I'm not sure with the player character directly putting that in.
Yeah. Also, elevators will cause levels that end levels with cutscenes to crash, right?
Yeah, I even get elevator crashes in normal combat levels with just no.
Yeah, they're just unstable. But I remember specifically making 9 lives that I couldn't have the elevator in the hospital because when it faded, like the elevators will work with levels with cutscenes if the way you end the level is you go back to your car. But if you want to like fade out to go to the level screen, then it'll just crash. So.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't know if it's always or if there's something specific that causes the trick crash, but I remember having to deal with that on multiple occasions. So that's fun. Anyways, okay. So I tried doing an attack cutscene while you were talking, didn't work out. So I think we're just going to do some closing words.
Yeah, attack cutscene's hard.
A lot don't work.
Yeah, whenever you start.
You're just gonna have to experiment. Like, what this video was to show you really was like triggers, frames, and actions to like get a hold of the editor. Like, this video is long enough, so I don't think you guys want us to go through every little nook and cranny of the cutscene editor that you.
Yeah, and obviously, like what he said from the get-go, we obviously can't teach you everything, just the core essentials. But even like he said, like playing campaigns and starting getting a feel for how they're like setting up their triggers or how they have a layout of a cutscene, just use that to inspire you and hopefully almost have a reference in that case too.
Yeah, if you can do competent dialogue cutscenes, that's like probably 80% of all cutscenes anyways. It's mostly just dialogue.
Yeah.
So hopefully this helped make the cutscene creator look less intimidating. Of course, I'll try to answer some comments, some questions you have in the comments about more intricate stuff. So feel free to ask me, and yeah, I hope you guys have a good day, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, see you next week. See you.
Adios.